We are waiting for the congressman, aforementioned congressman, to join us. Is he ready? Congressman, we've been talking about that moment as really one of the most powerful ones that we saw. Why was that important to you to get that on the record? And it was also powerful to remind people that this is his third at-bat.
Well, because I think it's just sometimes good to go back to basics, right? I mean, who was going to benefit from this? Everybody in the U.S. government who comes before us now says, oh, we would have just liked to have the meetings. We would have just done the security aid. We shouldn't have held it up. And the question is, who did it and why? And those are the basic questions. And the answer is clear. The president did it, and he did it to benefit himself personally. The White House meeting, the security assistance. And so when you talk about quid pro quo and you talk about these other things, it's easy for us all to sound like a bunch of lawyers. But I just wanted to bring it back to the basics. And also, you know, forgive me, but I wanted there to be a little accountability for Gordon Sondland, who I thought was a little smug through a lot of today's hearings. And I think his testimony to date has been, well, let's just say incomplete. And so we appreciate his candor, as I said, but we should be clear what it took to get it out of him.
Congressman, do you feel, is there any effort to revisit the decision not to use the courts to pressure Ambassador Bolton to come before your committee? And I ask that because the narrative around John Bolton has been to put him on the side, to depict him almost as a conscientious objector inside the White House. He was sending his deputies to the White House counsel's office. He called Rudy Giuliani a hand grenade. He talked about what Mulvaney was doing as a drug deal. It appeared that Gordon Sondland went out of his way to say that John Bolton asked for Rudy's cell phone number. And then one of your colleagues said, why do you underscore that? Why did you make that point twice? He said, well, you know, we work in the White House. You can get anybody's phone number. I mean, he appeared to throw John Bolton under the bus. And I wondered if that changed your calculation about his importance as a witness.
Well, what's important to Gordon Sondland is not always what's important to us. What's important to us is to understand what the president did and what he was thinking and what it meant, and to hold him accountable for it. And that's our primary focus. Look, you know, John Bolton's day is coming. So is Mick Mulvaney's, so is Secretary Pompeo's, so is everybody who thinks they can run fast enough to escape the scandal and taint of this administration. I'd refer them to Roger Stone and Paul Manafort and Paul Gates and Michael Cohen and others who in the past thought they were clever enough or slick enough to evade the truth, to lie to Congress, to intimidate witnesses. But the one who matters is the President of the United States. There are other people who I think have a lot of tough questions to answer. It bothers me that Ambassador Bolton is selling a book deal when 3 of his deputies are up here at risk of their own professional careers telling the truth. I think that's disgraceful. And I do think the McGahn decision, which is coming quick, is going to inform all of us on what the true oversight power of Congress is, and we'll take it from there.
You mentioned Don McGahn. There's also growing evidence about the role of Mr. Eisenberg. He works in the White House counsel's office. He's assigned to the NSC. He's the lawyer that Colonel Vindman went to. What's your sense, just out of the 2 days of testimony this week, of all the tentacles that this scandal has now reached into, deep into the White House counsel's office, deep into the NSC from Gordon Sondland, all the way to the highest levels of the State Department? And today the vice president was implicated as having full knowledge of the pressure campaign and the quid pro quo.
Yeah, that's right. And the people who are saving us are the career Foreign Service officers, the career United States military officers, people like Ambassador Yovanovitch, Ambassador Taylor, Lieutenant Colonel Vindman. They are doing the right thing when their political bosses are doing the wrong thing. Secretary Pompeo should be ashamed of himself when the people he's supposed to lead, supposed to protect and take care of, are out here getting attacked by the president for telling the truth, getting intimidated when they come before Congress. And so we've seen a real division between the way the people who know right from wrong are behaving and the people at the top, unfortunately, who are the political layer brought in by the president and first and foremost, the president himself, who are engaging in this effort to gain personally instead of doing the country's business.
You've been so generous with your time, Congressman. If you have a couple more minutes, my colleague Ari Melber has a question for you.
Sure.
Greg, Congressman, thanks for joining us, of course, on this momentous day. Do you see the evidence that Mr. Sondland provided to your committee today as adding to potential articles of impeachment? And if so, which articles?
You know, that's a great question, Ari. I think that I'd want to reserve judgment on that only because exactly what articles of impeachment will be considered by judiciary is not really our focus, right? Our focus is on getting the facts out, preparing a report on what happened in an expeditious, fair, and thorough way, and sending that to the Judiciary Committee and letting them make that decision. It is clear to me, however, that if you look at historical precedent, the Nixon impeachment articles are a real good place to start.
Congressman, thank you again for your time. I know there's more testimony this afternoon. Please pop back out in any breaks and let us know what of note is going on in there. We're all watching. Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.